Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Mindy here. I hope you're all doing very well. Thanks to those of you who helped me reach a recent milestone on my channel. I have had so much fun over the past several months talking about fragrance, sharing my thoughts, hearing your thoughts, engaging with other people that have the same amazing, lighthearted, fun passion that I do. Today I'm going to talk about a fragrance that is brand new to the market. It's from the House of Guess. It is Seductive Red. I've been really excited for this release for quite some time and wanted to share my thoughts on this brand new fragrance with you. So before I get started, let me touch really quickly on Seductive Noir. This is also by Guess. This is a release that has had me really excited about this new release because this is an amazing, affordable fragrance. This is one that is often compared to Mon Guerlain, but it stands on its own as a beautiful fragrance. It has some calming similarities to Mon Guerlain. There's lavender in Mon Guerlain. There is sage in this fragrance. It is just sweet, easygoing, beautiful. It's a type of fragrance that is a little bit seductive, but I don't think it's only appropriate for the evening time as suggested in the name. I do think this is an all-around fragrance for multiple occasions, one you can wear anytime, any place, a great affordable scent that I love. This is Seductive Noir. Without further ado, let's jump into Seductive Red. Okay, I am going to go through the good, the bad, and the ugly on Seductive Red and share my thoughts with you, but I'm going to start off by saying I did only purchase the fragrance mist. The fragrance mist was extremely affordable. So thinking about the good, I love affordable fragrances. This is probably the most affordable fragrance I've blind bought in many years, in quite some time. The end price on this fragrance was $11.07. I really did think for that price, it was definitely worth the risk. There is a coupon code that Guest is offering. It's GuestList15. You can get 15% off. And they removed the shipping fee, so it is very affordable at $11.07, extremely low risk, so I bought this without hesitation. I did notice that EDT for Seductive Red is quite a bit more expensive than I paid for Seductive Noir. This was around $21 on FragranceNet. I got it for a steal. I sort of hoped that would be the case with Seductive Red, but that fragrance is retailing for about triple what this fragrance is. So I thought it'd be better to jump in through the fragrance mist and see if I liked this before I commit to a full bottle. Now, in terms of scent profile for this one, I find it to be a very well-rounded scent. You can pick up some cherry, you can pick up some vanilla. There's also almond in this fragrance, which I think is done very well. I don't feel like any one note stands out or is overpowering, so that's where I say this one really does come off as well blended to me. Another thing I wanted to mention here in the good is that I picked up something that a lot of other fragrance reviewers have noticed for this fragrance, and that is that this one reminds me of another sweet, airy fragrance that is very popular in the perfume community, and that is Ariana Grande Cloud. Now, these are quite similar. This does share a lot of that scent profile that is in Ariana Grande Cloud, but there are definitely some differences. Now, if you think about them sharing a very similar base, I do find that Seductive Red leans a little bit more on the fruity side, whereas Ariana Grande Cloud leans a little bit more on the woody side. I also find that Seductive Red, at least the fragrance mist that I have, is a little bit sweeter than I find Ariana Grande Cloud to be. It also has a little bit more brightness to my nose that I pick up in here. But overall, I do find that they are quite similar in scent profile. One thing I'd say is if you're not crazy about the way the woody notes are done in Ariana Grande Cloud, you may really like Seductive Red for that reason. It feels like Cloud goes a little bit deeper, it's a little bit denser, it has a little bit more depth than Seductive Red has to my nose. One thing I wanted to point out, and this is my own personal opinion, is that Cloud doesn't smell all that much like Baccarat Rouge 540 to me. Yes, there are some similarities. Where I think they're kind of similar is that light airiness that you get, but also there's some woody notes that stand out, and they have some similarities for that reason, but to my nose, they're not overly similar. The reason I call that out is because I think people will be wondering, how does this compare to Baccarat Rouge 540? If it is similar to Cloud, is this then a perfect dupe for Baccarat Rouge 540, being so affordable, at least in the fragrance mist version? And my opinion is that they're probably quite different, but I think this is a perfect opportunity in the future to do a side-by-side comparison and see how this one compares to Baccarat Rouge 540. I do think that people who like fragrances in that vein will probably like this one as well. Okay, so I'm going to jump into the bad now. And when I say the bad, these are really just my observations, my opinions, some of the things I picked up when I played with this fragrance. And the first thing is, when I immediately sprayed this, when I initially smelled it, my first impression was that this fragrance smelled quite similar to a generic perfume. Something you would smell when you walked into a trendy clothing store. I'm thinking Guess, but there are others. Really just a nondescript type fragrance that didn't really call out my attention. I wasn't picking up as much cherry as I liked, and I just wasn't sure about the scent profile. Now, as it dried down on my skin, it does become a little bit more unique. I did tend to enjoy it a little bit more, but I will say it just has that similarity to Cloud by Ariana Grande, and I wasn't sure how I felt about that. It made me wonder, is Guess trying to jump on that Baccarat Rouge 540 money train? Are they trying to clone something like Cloud so that they can really drive revenue because that scent profile is so popular? But the one thing that makes me think that's probably not the case is that when you compare the notes profile for Ariana Grande Cloud and Seductive Red by Guess, they are very different. In fact, I think the only similarity that the notes profiles share is the note of vanilla. If I can figure out how to do it, I'll put the notes for Ariana Grande Cloud up here, and I'll put the notes for Seductive Red over here so you can compare side by side and see that they are quite different. That brings me to the notes. The notes in Seductive Red are cherry, almond, pink pepper at the top. There's cherry blossom, violet, magnolia in the mid, vanilla, sandalwood, and tonka bean at the base. And again, I find this to be a sweet, fruity, a little bit woody fragrance that I think a lot of people would enjoy. So moving on to another thing that I wasn't so enthusiastic about, and that was the price. Knowing that I was able to pick this one up at such a steal of around $21, I was disappointed to see that the EDT for this fragrance does retail closer to $62 on the Guess site. I did think that was quite expensive in comparison to another EDT from the exact same line. Now that being said, I was thrilled to pick this up at such a steal, and I'm happy to have it in my collection. Another thing that I'm a little bit disappointed about is that the cherry note doesn't really stand out here to me. I can't pick it up all that well on my skin, maybe a little bit more so when I spray on my clothes. I do find this to be the type of fragrance that has better longevity and projection if you do spray it on your clothes, because it really seems to meld in with your skin and doesn't stand out and project the way I would like it to on my skin. Another thing, I was sort of secretly hoping that this perfume would maintain a little bit more of the Seductive Noir DNA. I really like this fragrance, and what I had thought this might be is maybe a more cherry infused version of this fragrance, and it's not really that. Like I said, it leans more in the direction of Ariana Grande Cloud than Seductive Noir. And lastly, what I'd say in terms of the bad is that performance is not great on this fragrance mist. And that is absolutely to be expected from a fragrance mist that costs $11. I absolutely cannot complain about that. It's given me the opportunity to get to know the scent profile a little bit, which I truly appreciate and enjoy about this price point. But that being said, I do have to spray it on my clothes to get any sort of longevity out of this. And even when I do, it seems like it dissipates pretty quickly. After about an hour or two, it does dissipate. I do find myself respraying a little bit to get that scent profile back. I don't find it has strong performance. So one thing I will say is that I sprayed it on my skin before bedtime once, and I could still pick it up in the morning. Yes, it was really soft and subtle, but it was there. So I do think that that is one win in terms of longevity when you're talking about the fragrance mist. Okay, now moving on to the ugly, and I'll be totally honest, there really is no ugly with this fragrance. There are some things that I'm questioning, but this is a beautiful scent. It is pretty. It's reminiscent of Cloud. It has the tiniest hint of Seductive Noir in it, but very little, and it has that cherry presence, so that is quite subtle as well. I do find the scent profile to be nice here. What I sort of wish was that I had the EDT so I would know how this performs, so I could get a true sense of the scent projection and longevity. I just don't have that, and I'm just not sure I want to spend the $62 to find out. I would say this fragrance is around a 7 out of 10 for me. It is very nice. I like it. Overall, I think that people who like the Cloud fragrance will probably like this. I think some people will consider this to be redundant in their collection. I think people who like Seductive Noir will probably like this one as well. I'm not sure I would encourage people to blind buy the actual EDT because it is a price point that might be a little bit questionable for a lot of people to blind buy, but I do think getting the fragrance mist and playing around with it makes complete sense at the price of $11.07. One thing I will say and weave in here is that my son did ask, "What's that smell?" And it wasn't in a positive way. He wasn't crazy about this one, so for me it's always good to get other people's opinions and share those with you, but I personally like the scent. I think a lot of people will. This is Seductive Red by Guess, and this is the fragrance mist. Alright guys, thank you so much as always for tuning into my channel. I truly appreciate you. If you enjoyed this video on the brand new Seductive Red release by Guess, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel. I hope you have an amazing weekend. I hope you have a lot to be grateful and thankful for. And until next time, I'll see you soon.